What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the SI Sooners podcast. Josh Callaway in Oklahoma City, John Hoover in Tulsa, Ryan Chapman in Norman on this wonderful Wednesday, March 16th. This month just keeps on churning. We're all those new high gas prices are not friendly. They really come at a really crappy time for us right now because we're driving all over. Who was burning the Tulsa to Norman? Ryan and I were in KC. Now Hoover and I are going to Dallas. We're racking up the mileage, but good times here. How are you guys doing on this fine Wednesday?
Every day I drive by a Quick Trip, I notice the prices of 3 cents lower, 3 cents lower, 3 cents lower. So happy about that.
Yeah, keep going down.
See, I've got the secret spot. There's a Costco between me and the franchise studios and more, and the Costco prices have stayed pretty steady. So I've adopted Costco gas as my Lord and Savior over the last month and a half.
A little life hack there. I stopped at the 7-Eleven over there on Chautauqua in Norman, right by the Noble Center yesterday. We're going to the NIT game, and yeah, I was like, okay, that's an expensive fill up. I was like on EE too. That's why I did that. And
you did not get the Barry Switzer treatment at that Chautauqua 7-Eleven.
No.
Multiple times I've seen the game in there paying for nothing.
Nice.
Right.
Yeah, I dropped 63 bills last night at On-Q Express on the way home. So,
yeah, for sure. No, I feel that. It was like over $50 for me to fill up yesterday, which isn't that much for some people, but for my car, that's a lot. That's probably like the most expensive fill up I've ever had. So it's the timing of this is not great because we're staying busy here on All Sooners. We've been bouncing around all over the place. We have a lot to kind of backtrack on a little bit. A ton has happened since the last podcast, which we recorded a day early last week. If you're listening, if you recall that, we recorded on Tuesday because we were so busy on Wednesday and kind of the rest of that week. So we'll backtrack a little bit here. We'll get into what we usually do. We'll get some football stuff here up first. Let's go ahead and backtrack first and talk about Pro Day a little bit. Ryan and I were there. It was kind of interesting because it wasn't quite the hoopla of some other OU Pro Days. There was no number one quarterback, things like that. There was no John Elway roaming around. Things like, no big notable coaches or GMs that I noticed, at least, unless they were just really in the shadows. But there was still a ton of scouts there. We were told 30 teams were there out of 32. And some guys, I think, obviously were the winners of the day. Jeremiah Hall, certainly the big one after having not a great combine. We talked about that, the week before. He improved on some key areas that he needed to. Obviously, it was a big day for LaRon Stokes, who didn't go to the combine. So, I mean, just in general, we won't talk on it real long because it is, a week ago. But some things that jumped out to you from Pro Day. Who you weren't there, but obviously you kept up with it.
Sure, yeah. I'll start us off because you guys were there. I'll just put it in your lap. But I'll say this: the storyline to me was easy, and that was the number of guys who came out to Pro Day and then were asked about Brent Venables and asked about the new coaching staff and asked about the defense and asked about the new culture at Oklahoma, and they were very effusive in their prose when they talked about it. So I thought that was telling. I thought that was very telling that the guys who have invested themselves, their bodies, their time, their lives, their families into the program are the ones who are now saying, well, here's what I think about the new Brent Venables hired. Here's what I think about the old coaching staff. And I love it. I love every minute of that. So in terms of running 40s and bench pressing and all that, I wasn't involved in any of that, but I did notice what guys said about the program.
Yeah, that had to be the headline takeaway just because I don't know if this is something that Oklahoma has to look into. I don't know if it's something that was kind of lost in the shuffle because you have a new staff coming in and setting up Pro Day is on the back burner for what they needed to do. But having your Pro Day 2 days, 3 days after a lot of these guys performed at the Combine meant that no one really did anything. LaRon Stokes went through everything because he wasn't at the Combine. A couple of guys hit up 1 or 2 of the testing metrics and then the drills for teams. And then Jeremiah Hall obviously went through everything. And like a guy like Perron Winfrey, who he told us he had tweaked his hamstring and that he hadn't even gotten his MRI yet to determine what exactly that was. He had done that at the Combine, which meant that he couldn't really do anything. He was just in his Letterman jacket and there to support his former teammates. So the on-the-field stuff was definitely the back burner, although It was interesting to see Jeremiah Hall. He did get up there and he did improve. He shaved some time off of everything. I got 4 inches more on his vertical leap, stuff like that. I was talking to somebody close to Jeremiah, and it was kind of like a twofold thing at the combine. Is Jeremiah told us at the podium he's a morning person, so the combine totally rocked him off his routine. But then also, I was talking to somebody who said it was hard for Jeremiah on the other hand because everyone else who was in his group, it felt like, was putting up not just good times, but personal bests. Everyone was peaking at the combine and kind of a fast track for some of those testing metrics, except for Jeremiah. So that was kind of a twofold thing for him, is that he'd have to go back to the line after every drill, and then everyone's talking about, oh my gosh, that's the fastest I've ever run. So for him to go out there and to be able to so quickly put that behind, and he said he was like the one guy that was like, yeah, the quick turnaround was good for me because I was itching to get back out there. A really good performance for Jeremiah Hall.
Yeah, big time. Like I said, Hall, and then Laurent Stokes, certainly he didn't have the combine, so it's obvious that pretty much anything he puts out there is going to be a kind of a win for him. But he did not. I mean, his bench press was the exact same as Isaiah Thomas. I mean, he seemingly. I mean, I really don't know. I'm not a draft expert, but I thought Stokes had a performance that, who knows, maybe he could sneak into the very back, like 7th round. Like maybe he could sneak in there. He's an athletic guy. He looked impressive. He did. So we'll see if Laurent Stokes maybe made himself some money. Obviously the draft next month, but a good day for him. A guy who obviously has his work cut out for him and getting his, whenever he declared late, didn't get a combine invite. He's fighting an uphill battle, but he did as good as I thought he really could for a pro day, a situation like that. So good stuff there for Laurent Stokes. Now, looking at from those guys who are going to the next level, backtracking here, we had a new commit earlier this week. It's a preferred walk-on, I believe. I hope I pronounced it right. Peter Shue. That's how I'm saying it. He's a New Jersey product. He was an athlete there. He kind of played both ways. He's going to play defense at Oklahoma. Kind of a secondary. In high school, he played pretty much safety all the time. Just a guy who flies around the field. His entire tape is like just guys on the total opposite hash, him just coming all the way across to make tackles. That was pretty much a lot of his plays. You can watch his highlights on allsooners.com. But they had another addition here, a preferred walk-on guy who just adds depth. So, you make a few of these. Typically, they've been in-state, but they had another guy here in Peter Shue. Who, you wrote the story about him on allsooners.com. What can you tell, OU fans about this kid coming in?
Yeah, he's had some interest from Clemson, obviously. He's had some interest from Michigan State. He got a lot of local, northeastern schools. I can't remember right off the top of my head, in that area, in the New Jersey area, FCS type schools. And, he got an offer from Oklahoma because Brent Venables and his defensive staff, some of his defensive staff, obviously, came to Oklahoma. And so that relationship was already established. He visited Clemson twice last year in 2021. And he likes Venables. He likes what he's about. And once obviously you meet Venables and you tend to, agree with that statement. You like what the guy stands for. So relationship wise, they've established that. Now, athletically, he's a bit undersized, 5'11", 190-ish, 185, somewhere around there. He's going to be one of those try-hard safeties that comes in and outworks everybody and tries to get himself on the field on special teams as a backup, maybe in nickel situations. He's got athletic talent. There's no question about it. You look at some of his recruiting profile, I guess. He says that he's run a 4.5 something or other, 4.55, something like that. It's pretty fast. He grew up, though. This is a kid who overcame a lot of challenges in his life, had some really significant health problems, had a heart problem, has got a dietary problem. His mom told me he's got several diseases that he keeps first under control with medication. He's no longer on medication anymore, she's told me, so he's controlling everything with his diet. He's got to stay very disciplined with everything he eats. Like if he eats a potato, he goes into some kind of crazy,
wow.
Yeah, like allergic reaction, shock or something. So he's got to be very diligent about what he eats. And you can imagine somebody with that kind of focus, that kind of determination, and that kind of discipline is just the right guys, just what Brent Venables wants to build this program on.
Yeah, you kind of mentioned it. Like it's Brent Venables made a big to-do about recruiting your own problems, right? And this is the antithesis of that. Even if he never plays a single snap of meaningful defensive football at Oklahoma, if he's just a special teams lifer, if he's a guy you see against Akron or whoever, if that's the guys that are in the room, we hear about these stories all the time from the starters, right? Of talking about, I know DJ Graham talked a lot about Ryan Peoples, of like a guy that knows he's not really competing for a starting job at Oklahoma, and he is still in that room trying to outwork everyone. That's the DB's room.
Right.
It's one of those things that it permeates the culture through the entirety of the program. So at the very least, if that's the kind of guy you're getting, then it's just another example of Venables being about what he said up on that podium, which is go and get those high character guys. And we know with Brent Venables, he said it, a prerequisite to be a star, to be a big time player at Oklahoma is you also have to have that athletic talent too. So one of those guys that can come in and be one of those cultural cornerstones to help everyone through for years.
Absolutely. So we'll keep an eye on Mr. Shu. And again, if you missed that, you didn't see it, check it out, allstars.com, who wrote a story about him, him committing. And there's a highlight video attached there for you, a couple minutes of what he does. Like I said, it's pretty much his entire tape was like just him flying across the field. He's got some speed. He's a speedy guy. He can get across. He's an athletic kid. So we'll see what he can do. Obviously, can he work his way into any kind of rotation, special teams? We'll see. Obviously, he's preferred walk-on. So obviously, that's not the intention. But as OU fans know very well, guys have been walk-ons before and just battled their way into being a part of the team. So it's not impossible.
Yeah, he's betting on himself.
Yeah,
and he's convinced that he's confident that he's going to get a job at Oklahoma, a scholarship. He's one of those kind of guys. He's not just walking on to have fun. He wants to come to Oklahoma and play.
Does he have any aspirations to be a punter? I hear that Oklahoma's had some success with safeties shifting over into the punting world.
Wouldn't surprise me. Maybe he can boot it. Turk's only got another year, right? So they got to be ready after Turk is gone. So who knows? But so yeah. Anyway, with the keep it on the recruiting tail of things, just a small thing to watch for on allstars.com. Hoover and I heading to Dallas this weekend for Pylon 7v7 tournament. Gonna be talking to guys, OU targets, OU commits, all that good stuff. So keep up allstars.com this weekend. Ryan's going to stay back on home soil for basketball coverage, which we'll talk about in the next segment. But we will have lots of good stuff coming out of that this weekend. And then we're going back down for more stuff the following weekend. It's a busy month. It's a very busy month, but lots of good stuff. So we're going to have tons of recruiting coverage coming up for you on allstars.com. Be sure to keep out an eye for that this weekend and obviously into the next week and then the following weekend as well. So that's a good thing to keep an eye on. Elsewhere, as far as football stuff, there's a little bit of cleanup here. Probably the biggest thing for OU football fans right now is honestly not a guy who's with OU currently, but he always is, at the forefront for Oklahoma fans, Baker Mayfield. So we talked about, a couple of weeks ago or so, whenever that was announced. This whole month is a blur, but whenever the spring game was announced, he's getting a statue next month at the spring game is Baker, and kind of, the way things shake out, he looks like he may be on the way out at Cleveland. So the Browns are rumored that they're shopping Baker. They're looking for new options. Deshaun Watson, kind of the buzz name there, that they're like meeting with him and they're trying to work a deal that might send Baker to Indianapolis. I saw like a 3-team thing. So we'll see how that shakes out. Baker then just in very, very, very Baker Mayfield fashion hops on Twitter yesterday, posts this big long statement, basically a goodbye to Cleveland before he's even gone. That was, if you read that, I don't know how you have any other takeaway than he thinks he's out of here. So Baker may be on the move, and I guess, guys, what team is he going to be on whenever the statue ceremony comes out next month? Because it looks like it could be a few different options here.
Yeah, sounds like NFL Pro Football Network, I guess it was, that was saying that the Colts. They're told, their sources are told that it's the Colts that he wants to go play at. I was listening on the way home from the NIT game last night. I was listening to ESPN radio and I was driving home, and Jake Trotter jumped on with the overnight ESPN crew. And he said basically that the bridge is not burned between Baker and the Browns, but it is definitely on fire. That's how he characterized it. Meaning, I read a story on Sports Illustrated today, this morning. They're at the point of no return in their relationship. If Houston last night and their ownership and their general manager and their coach flew Cleveland, if Cleveland and their people flew to Houston to talk to Deshaun Watson, then they want Deshaun Watson. Simple as that. So Baker now, what's his situation? The Browns picked up the 5th year of his contract. They'll send him wherever he wants to go. Apparently, it's not a clean divorce, unfortunately. And the thing about it is, everybody around here loves him some Baker Mayfield. This is the NFL. NFL stands for not for long. The no fun league. This is a business. It's $1 billion business. So the Browns are pursuing the guy that they think makes the most sense. The problem with that is, so are the Atlanta Falcons, so are several other clubs, Saints, and so on. What happens if he goes to the Falcons and that bridge has been burned between Baker and the Browns? What do the Browns do for a quarterback? What does Baker do for a team? It's unfortunate. It's a mess right now, but it sure sounds like that statement you mentioned, Josh. He said, I have no clue what happens next. He talked about where he's going to take his next snap. Wherever the change will not change wherever I take my next snap, meaning Cleveland, possibly, meaning somewhere else, possibly. Yeah, it's shaping up to be a messy divorce.
Yeah, and I mean, what Jake Trotter had said there that you mentioned, Hoove, that if Cleveland's brass was meeting with Deshaun Watson last night, then based off everything we've seen of the NFL, that means that the Texans have provisionally accepted whatever that trade offer is, and that Deshaun Watson has the no trade clause. He has to choose what he'll waive it for. So I guess you could understand from Baker's perspective, if they're in Houston meeting with Watson, that means they've already offered the trade. It's been accepted. There is no rumors like that. That is what has happened. And now it's a waiting game for Deshaun Watson. So look, it might not be the worst thing in the world for Baker for a change of scenery. I mean, the injuries this year, it sounds like he was very unhappy with how the Browns medical staff handled everything, as he's kind of come out and said it'll be him and his medical staff that evaluates all of his injuries from now on. Plus, I mean, it sounds like Houston doesn't want a quarterback back, so you're looking at a place like Indianapolis, other places, the Saints, the Falcons that have been looking for quarterbacks. Wouldn't be the worst thing to go to a dome for old Baker after his experience out there in Cleveland with the lake breeze blowing in. So a change of scenery wouldn't be the worst thing in the world, especially as we know the NFL is a different game, but Baker plays his best football when he feels hard done by. So if you're a Baker fan, that might be the best scenario, is get him to a new spot, get him in a dome where you don't have 2 win games a year where Colin Cowherd's dunking on him because no one can throw in 30-mile-an-hour crosswind, and let him just kind of hit the reset button on his career.
That fan base is toxic too, are they not? I mean, you got a guy who literally changed the culture in Cleveland, came in and said, if anybody's going to win in this place, it's going to be me. They built around him. They put pieces around him. There's no question. But Baker comes in, changes the culture, gets all cocky. He's Baker. That's what he does. He was Baker his first year. Second year didn't go so good. Third year, what does he do? He helps lead him to the playoff for the first time in 26 years.
Yeah.
And midway through year 4, when he's struggling with a busted shoulder and a bad knee and a rolled ankle and a hamstring or whatever else he had, they're saying ship him. They're saying we don't need Baker Mayfield. This guy's a bum. He's playing hurt when he didn't have to. I didn't get that at all last year. That was weird. How Browns fans turned on him for being average. He was average because he was so hurt, and that team was had injury problems as well. Man, it's just Browns fans are toxic, and the NFL is a business. You know how guys, you know how Baker gets invested emotionally in things. Maybe he's got to remove himself from that kind of thinking from here on out. That this is, he tweeted when he was in college, MMO, when he was trying to get drafted, MMO, money makers only. Yeah, that's probably how you need to approach this from now on. Turn it into a business, turn it into the Baker Mayfield Incorporated, and be the best Baker you can be.
Absolutely. So surprising stuff. It's quickly how nuts quickly things can change. I mean, we're just 1 year removed from, like you said, who've been making the playoffs, winning a playoff game against their biggest rival. Things are going great. I mean, they're one horrible call away from beating the Chiefs. Remember that touchback, beating the Chiefs and beating the AFC Championship game a year ago. And last year he was clearly injured, but oh well, I guess that things move quickly. You look at guys, there's guys like that all elite. Carson Wentz pops to mind. Golden Boy in Philly, that fell apart quickly. I mean, things change fast in the NFL, very very fast. So, like Ryan said, maybe a change of scenery isn't the worst thing. You got to imagine a guy is Baker who's so like loyal, obviously like inhumanly loyal, to have the Browns, clearly shopping him and going after Watson. That probably really sticks with him. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it looks, I'd be shocked if he's back with the Browns next year. It looks like for sure he's going to be on a new team, and we'll see how that goes. So it's going to be interesting stuff.
Josh, before we go to a break,
Yeah.
I think we got to this last week. OU's going to have its spring game on April 23rd.
Yeah.
Right? We've known that for a while, thanks to Ethan Downs' dad. Guess who else is April 23rd spring game? Lincoln Riley and the USC Trojans. Who? Well, and they're on national TV on ESPN is going to carry that broadcast. Who should we watch? Should we watch Oklahoma or should we watch USC? Gee, I don't know.
How insane is it that that's on ESPN? A 4-8 team.
Yeah, they love them. Last year, national media loves them some Lincoln Riley, don't they?
It's not even like ESCCPN. Like it's USC. What are we talking about? That's crazy. They're sending Curb Street out there.
Well, the weird thing is that they're sending their game day crew out there after Lincoln just lied to their faces a couple of years ago in Waco with CeeDee Lamb, and like game day has not been pleased with him. Like that was a big to do behind the scenes, and all's papered over, all is well. Crazy.
Wait. You're saying Lincoln lied about something?
Wild.
What?
Shocking. An injury update?
I don't know if you're aware, but Andrew Rame's expected to give it a go in Bedlam. I'm still waiting on Andrew Rame to be the starting center in Bedlam.
Unbelievable stuff. So yeah, the USC spring game is going to be on ESPN, which is nuts. The USC can, I imagine, this is just me speculating, that USC did a lot to make that happen because this entire time since Lincoln's been there, it has been, look how big time we are. That's been the entire thing. And so that's another feather in their cap that they get on ESPN. Right before break here, we're going to go. We have other sports, and we have the Groves coming up in the third segment. One little tiny just bit of other NFL news. Darrell Williams, really good Oklahoma offensive lineman, released by the Bills. So he'll be looking for a new team as well. Obviously, he's a guy who's been like second team All-Pro, one of the more underrated former Sooners in the NFL, honestly, in the last decade or so. He'll be looking for a new team as well. So a little housekeeping there as we keep up with NFL free agency. All right. Well, that'll do it for this segment. We'll come back. Other sports, men's basketball in the NIT, women's in the NCAAs, Diamond Sports off and running. And, of course, the Groves Bros coming up in the third segment. Coming up next on the SI Sooners podcast.
What's up, guys? It's Kerry with Trade Pros here. We've got a brand new service program coming out this year. It's the new All-Star Service Program. It's only $25 a month. The great thing about it is it's going to save you guys a ton of money throughout the year. Furnace and air conditioning repairs can be very expensive. If you guys need a service call and you're signed up with us, you're not going to have to pay that service charge. The repair is under $500. Trade Pros is going to take care of that as well. Anything over that, you guys are just going to be responsible for 25% of that. Go give us a like on Facebook. Check us out at TradeProsOKC.com or give us a call at 405-639-9991.
On Twitter, you can follow SI Sooners at all_Sooners. Ryan's at Radios Ryan. Who's at Johnny Hoover? I'm at Josh M. Callaway. Our website is allsooners.com. We're a Fan Nation affiliate, part of the Sports Illustrated Network. Okay, segment 2. We'll get into some other sports here. We have the Groves Bros coming up in segment 3. So we'll go ahead and start with men's basketball. Been a wild last week or so since last time that we had a show here. They went to Kansas City. And if you guys remember, I said at the time, if they win no games, they're done. If they win 2, they're definitely in. If they win 1, it's going to be up to the bubble. And they won 1, and it came down to the bubble, and the bubble was unkind. Teams just took their spot, quite frankly. The Sooners missed the tournament. They're the second team out. They're in the NIT. They played last night. We were all there. They beat Missouri State, a team that was game and ready to go, but they ran away from them in the second half. But, disappointing, obviously, for Oklahoma. They missed the tournament. Their Ken Palm is it's like 26, I think, after the win last night. Like it's crazy high for a non-tournament team. Metrically, they should be in the tournament. Their net ranking is better than a lot of teams that made the tournament, but alas, they aren't, and they're in the NIT.
Yeah, so we know the matrix. They went into Selection Sunday knowing that Duke had to beat Virginia Tech to keep Virginia Tech out of the field. That didn't happen. Virginia Tech scored the upset, so Virginia Tech gets the auto bid. And then Richmond does the same thing. Davidson had to beat Richmond. Didn't happen. Richmond steals that bid, gets the last spot basically in the tournament. Without those 2 wins, the NCAA selection committee tells us Dayton was the first team out. Oklahoma was the second team out. Without those 2 upsets on Selection Sunday, on tournament day, basically, without those 2 upsets, Oklahoma is in the NCAA field of 68. Simple as that. I know they're disappointed. Porter Moser described it as a gut punch several times. He talked about the process of grieving. He told his players to go ahead and grieve. It's okay. Now, he didn't break down blubbering like Buzz Williams did. I don't know if you guys saw that video, but that is 8 minutes of a grown man reading a angry manifesto. He said he shut his phone off and his TV off, and he didn't. Every waking moment he had, he spent on researching who's on the committee, why they hate Texas A&M, and what he's going to do to them when he finds them. Basically, it was unbelievable. We played that on our show today, Sam and I, and we commented throughout. But Porter Moser, I thought, handled himself with a lot of class and a lot of dignity, and basically said, okay, you're going to keep us out of the tournament? I'm going to roll my sleeves up. I'm going to double my fists up, and I'm going to fight your ass. And that's what they did last night. Things didn't go according to plan in the first half. They got free for some shots in the second half. They started making transition buckets because their defense cranked up, and you saw Oklahoma put the hurt on what I thought was a really good Missouri State team. So maybe this team's got a little something to prove, a little chip on their shoulder.
Yeah, if you missed Porter's comments on the committee, obviously the committee chair, Tom Burnett, comes out and basically says that OU and A&M lost too many quad 1 games, that they played in a good conference, and that they got punished because of that. Porter was reluctant, but I asked him, and he kind of opened up a little bit on that. So that's on allsooners.com. Hoovy did a good job covering that portion of it. I think it's interesting what they do from here on out. They'll meet up with St. Bonaventure. The Bonnies are coming to town. Stay tuned to the Groves Bros. They might, because they're going to talk about what the motivation is here in the NIT, Madison Square Garden, all that stuff. But the thing I thought was most fascinating about last night is the Sooners clearly came out slow, and then they got into it. Jordan Goldwire had a really good game, and I asked Porter Moser after the game, like, your super seniors, Goldwire, Marvin Johnson, Ethan Shagwab, their careers are done. The next game they lose, or if they win in Madison Square Garden. For everyone else, you can pitch it's a springboard to next year. What does it mean to those guys? And Porter was like really honest with us. He's like, Jordan Goldwire is the guy I was worried about the most. He came from Duke last go around, and he's the guy that responded almost the best and set the tone. So I think it's fascinating because if you've been to a game this year, you can see Porter is high energy, but he's also aggressive as far as, like, if you make a mistake, he'll tell you about it as soon as you get to the bench, stuff like that. I've just wondered if that wears on a team over the course of a season when the results kind of go sideways. He was insistent he wasn't going to lose the team. The culture is strong. We saw that with how they closed the season. Now, in the face of this huge disappointment, it's clear he hasn't lost the team, and they've bought in and they're into it. So I think that's really good news for what Oklahoma could do in the NIT, but also just what Oklahoma could be in 2-3 years' time as far as what Porter is building and that culture and that buy-in that he has from the guys on campus right now.
Yeah, absolutely. I was impressed with the effort, coming out, and Porter talked about this yesterday. Just Missouri State, they've known they're going to the NIT. They've known, and they've been kind of gearing up for this for, a week or so. You had the gut punch of Sunday, and then they turn around and have to play again on Tuesday. That's hard. That's hard to turn around and try to get back up and get ready to play in the NIT. And I thought they did a pretty good job. It was a decent, crowd. Certainly not a big crowd, but probably the most engaged crowd of like the season. I mean, the people who were there were into it the whole time. They gave the team standing O's and stuff for, good runs and, kind of just appreciating the effort. So pretty good stuff. As far as, what you can get at this point, you try to win the NIT and you try to use that as a statement. And like Ryan said, a springboard into next year. So we'll see how that shakes out, but good start last night against Missouri State. They'll get St. Bonaventure next, like Ryan said. We're assuming Sunday in Norman. Hasn't been officially said, but that's the assumption there. So we'll keep you posted on allsooners.com, but we assume that's where we're headed, and we'll all be there again as we were last night. Now, flipping over to the women.
Quick one for you, Josh. we've already interviewed the Groves Bros. We've recorded that segment, and it's my fault. We should have said congratulations to Tanner, academic All-American. Academic All-American. What an achievement by that guy, huh? 4.0. He's already graduated. He's getting his master's now. So, Tanner, if you're watching this part, congratulations, man. Sorry we forgot to bring that up, but major kudos to you. I've always got mad respect for those athletes who know how to compartmentalize their time and devote themselves to the academic side of things, because there's going to be, all I got to do is look at my own family. There's going to be life after athletics, and a 4.0 will take you places, man. It's going to take you places. So congratulations.
We had a lot to get to. Last time we talked to them was before the
Yeah.
tournament even happened. So we had Big 12 tournament, we had Selection Sunday disappointment, we had NIT. We had a lot to get through. So good conversation with the Groves Bros coming up in the third segment. So, like I was saying, flipping over to the women, they had a solid week in Kansas City. I mean, we were kind of going into that Kansas game, the three of us kind of like, because that's literally who they laid an egg against the last game of the regular season. They bounced back and they worked them. Pretty complete performance, ran away from Kansas. Game wasn't overly competitive. Ryan and I were there. Then they played Baylor, who they had already beat twice, and they were right there with them for a quarter and three quarters, basically, right before halftime, and then into the second half is where Baylor just ran away with it. They had no answer for Alyssa Smith at all. So Baylor wins that. But despite that, they still find a way to glom onto a 4 seed, which means they get to be at home this weekend. Late tip, 9 o'clock on Saturday against IUPUI. But there you go. They get to be at home. And if you're Oklahoma, you got to like your chances. You got to like what you're seeing to try and get to the second week.
This is a perfect opportunity for Cinderella, IUPUI, their first NCAA tournament bid. I think this is Oklahoma's 21st, 22nd NCAA tournament bid. So you've got basically Cinderella and Goliath. I won't even say it's David and Goliath because David won that fight. But it's Cinderella. It's a team making their first. The Jaguars. I used to cover IUPUI when I covered Oral Roberts here at the Mid-Continent Conference here at Tulsa. And it's a commuter school in downtown Indianapolis. They've combined student bodies, commuters from IU, Indiana, and Purdue University, and it's just like, you think of Ron Hunter sliding on his knees and tearing his pants. You think of Ron Hunter winning games, coaching on that when he had that cast in that little chair with the wheels on it. But you don't think of the women's team. And yet, guys, they've got the 4-time conference player of the year, Macy Williams, 6 foot forward center, 4-time conference player of the year. Do you know how hard that is? So it's not going to be the easiest thing. Oklahoma, they got some news just a few minutes ago while we were on this podcast. Taylor Robertson, honorable mention, All-American this year. So you're battling on one side. You've got a player who's 4 conference player of the year awards and another one who's got All-American honors this year. I think it's going to be a good game. I think there's players on both sides that this is going to be an interesting game. The unfortunate part is it's 9 o'clock at night.
I'm interested to see how the Oklahoma team responds, just because it's been a while since they've been in this spot. And then on top of that, now you've got the pressure of your hosting now. So it's the good thing, but it's also that, and like if they win, I don't think it'd be a problem against Notre Dame of that initial caginess, but it's that juice of it's tournament time, and it's tournament time at home, 9 o'clock. I know OU's about to roll out a full court press to get everybody there. Josie is throwing pajama night out there. Like, hey, get there, bring your pajamas. Doesn't matter. Just get there, be loud. It'll be interesting. It'll be a big Liz Scott game to make sure if she can lock things down defensively and give Oklahoma a little bit of time to go on one of those runs, then that could really bust the game open, especially with Skylar Vann's health status still up in the air. I know that Jenny Baranchek said they had hoped that, well, first off in Kansas City, she said we have to wait until we get back to Norman. Then yesterday she said they hope that she'll be able to give it a go, but it's still not 100% green light. I'm checking in with her today at 4:15 on the franchise. Hopefully we'll get more information on that, as well as we've got availability with her later as well. So it'll be interesting, but a ton of storylines. You can get through that first game, and if Notre Dame comes together, I mean, OU and Notre Dame have some pretty rich tournament history on the women's side of things. That could be a fun game, a little reset button back to the early 2000s when hosting NCAA tournaments in Lloyd Noble Center was a regular thing under Sherry Cole.
Absolutely. Curious to see what the fan turnout is like. OU basketball fans, not the best generally. We've talked about that before on this show, and they've had some games this year for the men that were head scratching, even before overtime and stuff like that. So, I mean, this is an NCAA tournament game. I mean, this is what you play for. It should be a big crowd, 9 o'clock or not. I don't care. I mean, it's Saturday. It should be a big crowd. That team has earned a big crowd. So
What
hopefully, OU fans step up.
what else do people have to do on a Saturday night in March? You know what
Well,
I mean? Like,
they left Bedlam. OU fans left Bedlam overtime at Saturday at 1 o'clock in the afternoon. Overtime. So I don't know. My expectations are low. So let's see if OU fans can prove me wrong a little bit here.
Macy Williams, by the way, guys, 6'2". I sold her short, 6'2", and she's basically averaged a double in her career. She's unbelievable, and she is a fifth-year graduate student. So
Yeah.
If you think about it, who was the player who scored 61? Aoka Lee for K-State against them. Now she's not 6'7", okay, or I think maybe she's 6'7". But big athletic posts are going to give Jenny Baranchik's team a hard time. And she actually mentioned that on her Zoom call last week that, hey, we know we're small in the post. We know we're undersized. We know we're going to have to do some work, get on a step ladder basically to do some of that work. So I don't know. I just think IUPUI is scrappy enough, crafty enough, and has one of those reputations. This is one of those deals where everybody's like, yeah, Notre Dame on Monday. Can't wait to play them. Notre Dame. Well, you got a game to play first.
Yeah, should be an interesting one on Saturday night. Ryan will be there at Lloyd Noble Center. Hoover and I will be in Dallas, like I said earlier, for some football stuff. Now, flipping over to the Diamond Sports here quickly before we get on to the Groves. Softball still undefeated. They rolled through Hawaii. Jocelyn Alo finally got the record. Pretty cool. Did it in Hawaii, which is cool for, obvious reasons. Had a lot of family there and stuff like that. Finally happened. They pitched to her. She got it. They're still undefeated. Good stuff out there. Pretty much what the textbook weekend in Hawaii for Oklahoma. They swept through, all run rule wins. Alo got the record. That's pretty much what you were looking for in that trip. And now they have a big weekend in Oklahoma City coming up here with the Hall of Fame stuff.
What if all those teams had tried to pitch to Alo? She might have 15 home runs right now, but she wouldn't have hit the game or the record setter. She wouldn't have hit the record setter in the islands. I mean, it was poetry, man. I said it. It was like irony, symmetry, and poetry all mixed together.
Yeah, and two, we've seen Jocelyn just finally be like, I'm just ready for this to get over with, just ready for it to get over with. So now they can turn the page and the focus can be on the team. Like, it's just, they're going to have a ton of pressure. That moniker of best softball team ever was put on them by Patty Gasso. Like, she challenged them to be that before the season. It'll be interesting to see. And hey, it should be a fun atmosphere. Marita Hines, like, season tickets are sold out, right? So you got 2 games Friday, 2 games Saturday that late one on Saturday might run into people dipping out to get down to Norman. But it'll be interesting to see just how many fans they can pack in there, because it's the best chance for non-season ticket holders, Oklahoma City Sooner fans, Tulsa Sooner fans, to cut that drive a little bit out and get over to Hall of Fame and see the team play before postseason play.
Absolutely. So big weekend ahead for softball. As for baseball, we talked about it before. They had the rough weekend in Houston. They're on a very long homestand here. They're on a 5-game winning streak. So they're taking care of business. They're winning the games they need to win. They play Air Force again today at 2 as we're recording this. It's about an hour from now. So by the time you hear this, they may have already played again against Air Force. Really, the biggest news from baseball is that they moved the OU Texas series south to Arlington, and fans are unhappy. And I don't really blame fans. This is a head-scratching move to me for Oklahoma. Obviously, they're getting a payday out of it. That's the only reason to do it, because otherwise you just gave up your biggest home series. Head-scratching thing there for Oklahoma. I think you're muted, Hoof.
Doing 2 things at once. I heard Toby Rowland say on the radio today they got something like 200 season ticket holders who are angry.
Yeah.
200 season ticket holders or 200 angry season ticket holders, there's no doubt. But the amount of money that they're getting from the Rangers and Globe Life, come on. I mean, this is something it's a no-brainer. This is going to really help the baseball program refurbish the stadium to get you into the Southeastern Conference. That's got to be the logical step, is how to get money in the coffers of the baseball program.
Yeah, and I was talking with Randy Heights, #1 OU baseball fan / programming director there at the franchise. He was saying too that look, it may help the RPI in the end, because if you beat Texas, all of a sudden you've beat them at a neutral site. If you lose to them, it kind of lessens it a little bit. So if Oklahoma can get back on track and hurdle toward a fringe tournament team, there's a long way to go between now and then. It could be one of those things that if you happen to steal one, better to steal one at a neutral site than to get swept at home or anything like that. So I know the fans are going to be angry. I get that. But they're looking at big picture stuff here as opposed to just this season, a 1 year thing.
For sure. So yeah, I mean, I had OU fans, a lot of OU fans replying to me and even DMing me on Twitter, like, why is this happening? Why is the biggest home series we have going away? Two of those games are on national TV, ESPN2, ESPNU, and those are going to be in Norman at Elldale, not anymore. So I think obvious frustration there for fans that honestly I understand completely. So we'll see how that goes. That's after they already had a home series moved already this year. So that's 6 home games that have been just moved out of Norman. So kind of tough if you're a season ticket holder for sure. All right. So that's it for other sports. We'll go to Girls Bros in segment 3. Great conversation with them as always. So we'll go to them to wrap up the show. Kansas City, NIT, all that good stuff coming up next right here on the SI Sooners podcast.
Hey guys, John Hoover for Trade Pros. Listen, they got something special going on at Trade Pros. It's the All-Star Service Agreement. Sign up now for just $25 a month, and the guys at Trade Pros will come out twice a year for routine maintenance. Plus, you get up to 2 pounds of Freon every year at no charge. And get this, if your heating or air unit needs work, it's not going to cost you anything if the repair is less than $500. And if it's more than $500, your cost comes in at just 25% of the Trade Pros price. It's the All-Star Service Program. Some conditions apply, so give the guys at Trade Pros a call, 405-639-9991, or hit them up on the website, tradeprosokc.com. All right, welcome back. Final segment of the SI Sooners podcast, and it is time for our favorite segment of the week. It's our weekly segment with the Groves brothers. We call it the Groves Bros. Tanner and Jacob join the SI Sooners podcast exclusively every Wednesday, thanks to our good friends at Trade Pros. If you need service, maintenance, or you just got heat and air questions of any kind, just call those guys at Trade Pros, 405-639-9991. They are Oklahoma-owned and operated. They're proud to serve you right here in the great state of Oklahoma. They're going to take care of you, so give them a call. Man, Tanner, Jacob, big night in the LNC last night. Let's just start right there. 89-72. First round win in the NIT over Missouri State. The place wasn't packed, but it was kind of electric. I know there's a lot of disappointment. Probably there was a couple of days ago over the last 48 hours going into last night about not making the tournament. But what did you guys think of the way you all bounced back as a team last night, given that you had basically one practice?
Yeah, I mean, I thought we did a great job. It's always a question of, are we gonna want to come out and compete after we felt like we kind of been snubbed a little bit. But I thought we did a really good job. We kind of came out a little slow, but credit to Missouri State because they're a good team and they got a pro on their team. The game was really back and forth. We were just kind of trading buckets, and then in the second half, I thought that we really stepped up and we really defended like we've been doing the last 5 games, and that's kind of when we were able to break the game open a bit. And so, yeah, that's just kind of credit to the guys and credit especially to the staff as well, because I know that it's been short notice, but I know that they've spent hours getting us ready for this game. Missouri State's a team who played against Coach in the Missouri Valley for years, and so Coach was super familiar with their guys. I even think that the coach of Missouri State played for Coach. I think out of Illinois State maybe. Yeah. And so Coach was really familiar with those guys. He got us all ready to go, and regardless of us not being in the NCAA tournament, we were ready to go and kind of got that taste of winning again, and I think we're ready to go, and we're looking forward to the next one already.
Yeah, I mean, I think that, just like Tanner said, we were definitely very well prepared for him. I mean, that's a team that Coach has played against for, the past however many years he was in the Missouri Valley. And so he knew them. knew them really well, and especially their coaching staff and what they were gonna probably run offensively, defensively. You know what I mean? So he kind of had a game plan ready to go, and then just on our end too, we kind of did our part and just kind of bought in. We had a great day of prep, I guess you could say. After obviously a disappointing Sunday. But it was good. I mean, I think it's important for us to, kind of be disappointed about that loss, but then just kind of have that fuel the fire going into this NIT tournament. And, and that was a big part of the win last night. I mean, like you said, I think we scored almost 90 points, 89 points. And so it's going to be fun to watch us play, just especially offensively too, because we're used to playing all year against these Big 12 defenses that are like, top 10, top 15 defenses in the country. And now we're playing, different teams who don't defend as well as some of the teams in the Big 10 or in the Big 12. And so it was cool to see us put up so many points and our offense kind of flourished last night.
Yeah, and we last time we guys talked to you, it was before the Big 12 tournament. So if you'll allow us, we'll work our way back here. We talked to Porter about Sunday night, and he kind of talked about it important to give you guys that space to kind of. He said to grieve. We talked to Moshe Gibson and Jordan Goldwire last night after the game, and Mo said that when he saw Jordan Goldwire post on Instagram immediately after you guys had been snubbed, that really hit him. What was that process like for just you two individually? Of like, how long did it take to take that disappointment and turn that into flipping the switch of, well, screw that, now let's go out there, win the whole thing, and show why we should have been in the NCAA tournament, that kind of thing?
Yeah, I think so as a team, it kind of sucked. As a team, we went to the locker room and kind of as our whole team and coaching staff, we watched Selection Sunday. It's really highly expecting our names to be called, and then it was just kind of devastating. We didn't see our names called, and you could look around the locker room and hear a pin drop. I mean, it was just dead silence, and guys were just really mad, really disappointed, and so was coach. I mean, coach broke us down, told us whatever, and then at the end of the day we all just left, and there was no words said. I mean, it was just kind of clear how disappointed we all were. And then, I got home, me and Jake got home, and then we were just pretty quiet. And then it just turned to being mad. We were just how did these guys get in over us? We were working through all the different bubble teams, talking about net ratings, talking about, strength of schedule, this and that, quad one wins. And we were there's no way I think out of all the bubble teams that didn't get in, us and Texas A&M easily deserved to get in over some other teams. But, that's gone. We can't really talk about that now. It's still going to be something I'll think about probably for the rest of my life, thinking back about how we got snubbed. But, I like how we're able to use this time now as just motivation. Moving forward, and really hurt for our seniors, but luckily for me and Jake, we get another year of going to battle, and I think this is only going to be motivation for us moving forward in the NIT, and especially moving forward next year, going into some of those smaller games we play at the start of the year. If you look back at the Utah State game or the Butler game at home, it's these games you got to win, and now we know that if we're ever in that type of position in the year, we know that this is a must win, and we can kind of let those guys know that and kind of use that to, push us forward. So it's a good learning lesson. It's not the worst thing, but, we'll use it moving forward, and we're looking forward to hopefully, making it to MSG and cutting down the nets in there.
Yeah. I mean, MSG would be ideal. We're definitely excited for that, but just I think Tanner kind of said it. It's just overall disappointment from everyone. But it kind of is what it is. It's we've been battling back, and I think that getting this first win under our belt in the NIT is something that's you get the feeling of surviving and advancing, and so that's kind of been kind of a theme with the guys to where now instead of kind of obviously mourning or grieving not getting into the tournament, it's now we're surviving and advancing, and we have a chance to actually go win a postseason tournament that is, a pretty good tournament as well. And so that's cool. But obviously disappointing. I mean, I think that I just feel bad for some of our seniors, some of the guys who came here and with goals of obviously getting into the NCAA tournament and um, playing in March Madness. And so it sucks for a lot of those guys, knowing that it's their last year of college basketball and they're not going to be able to play in that tournament. And so, you kind of feel bad for those guys. I mean, it sucks for everyone else, but us having, a couple more years to be able to do this and make the tournament is good. And so we obviously have some high hopes for the future and for next year especially. And we're kind of just dealing with the circumstances that we have, and we're just battling and hopefully gonna make some noise in the NIT, which will be good.
Absolutely, absolutely. So like Ryan said, we haven't talked to you guys since before the Big 12 tournament, so I wanted to backtrack to Kansas City a little bit. Obviously, first time in that tournament for both of you guys. Just kind of walk through the week. What was it like in Kansas City? What did impressions of the tournament the first time? You got that great Baylor win to start the thing. Jake had the big game in that one. Just the week that was in Kansas City. What was it like playing in that tournament for the first time?
It was kind of funny because right when we had a shoot around in the Kansas City gym, obviously the day before the game, and it was like 40 minutes, and right when you touch the balls, the clock starts, and so we were kind of obviously on a roll, but Tanner and I look at each other and we were like, this looks exactly like the Big Sky tournament did in Boise, like this arena, obviously a much larger version of it, but it was kind of cool to see that, just how the arena was like laid out and all the press boxes and everything up above. And so it kind of reminded us of Boise, which was cool to see. But yeah, that was just it was a fun week for sure. I mean, it was a very busy week. We didn't have much time to go see or do anything. I mean, I know that there was some really cool activities going around the T-Mobile Center that we were playing in, but we didn't really get time to go see anything or do anything. But we had a pretty good little support cast there with our family and some friends, and so that was cool. They sent a lot of videos and pictures of just everything going on outside. Sounds like there were basketball courts going on outside the T-Mobile Center and big beer gardens and big screens to watch the games on. And so it was a really cool environment, I think. And then just, as far as being a part of the tournament itself, it was pretty unbelievable, especially after that Baylor game too. It was one of those things where we were all just so hyped up and your adrenaline was just running all throughout the night. And so you kind of don't get much sleep on nights like that, but that, I got to go to bed because we got to wake up tomorrow and do the same thing over again. And so it's an incredibly busy week. It's very hectic just because there's so many moving parts as to who you're scouting and 1 day turnarounds and, stuff like that. And so I guess the good thing is that you're playing teams that you've already played twice this year. And so that made things easy on us a little bit, but yeah, I think that no doubt that those two games just kind of showed our team that we're just, we're kind of playing our best basketball of the year and that we're capable of hanging with anybody, beating anybody. And, we're just hoping to see that takes us far in this tournament that we're playing in.
Yeah, I thought Kansas City was a lot of fun. It kind of brought me right back to, just that tournament feel. You can always kind of tell there's just always a different feel when you're playing postseason basketball compared to when you're playing regular season basketball. And right when we got off that plane in Kansas City and got to the hotel, it was just that different feel that this is postseason. This is why we're here. This is what we're doing. We're trying to win, and that was just kind of cool. It kind of sparked our competitive edge, and we were ready to go. We were looking forward to it, but no, it was cool. Just, being in that arena, it was pretty incredible. There was fans, from every team there cheering us on, especially against Baylor. It was kind of funny. We had a whole crew of my family and friends in the stands, and they were just telling us during the Baylor game, like Kansas fans and Iowa State fans were
Definitely
grouping with the Oklahoma fans and cheering us on against Baylor, and so that was kind of funny. but no, it was just a really cool environment, just being a part of that. Because all I've experienced is playing in the Big Sky Conference tournament in Boise, which, like Jake said, it was just it was a lot smaller scale and not as many people there, and so it was just really cool. And it just gave me that March Madness kind of feel when we were playing in that arena against some of the best teams in the nation. It was just incredible, and I loved the atmosphere, the environment, the energy. It was just really cool. And so I think that kind of helped our guys out. I think especially just going into that Baylor game first, we were locked in, and we knew that we were playing our best basketball and that something special could happen because we were just so locked in, so ready to go with the scout for Baylor and just everything. And so obviously got that win, and then even against Texas Tech, I thought we were really locked in too. And unfortunately, ball just didn't roll our way. But I thought it was a lot of fun, playing down there in Kansas City in front of all the fans.
I'll take you back to the Lloyd Noble Center last night. The thing I noticed about Missouri State is that they're not a Big 12 basketball team. And I mean no disrespect to Missouri State at all whatsoever. I was very impressed by their ability to score, their athleticism. But it struck me that Oklahoma's not playing a Big 12 team, and it shows. And Jake, you made mention of it earlier that they're not on that level defensively. They don't get after you defensively necessarily. And again, I'll be honest with you guys. I leaned over to Ryan midway through the first half, and I said, Ryan, this smells like an upset. I might have to call an upset right here. That Missouri State, I think they had a 5-point lead at the time and had not missed a shot basically since the opening tip. And I'm like, boy, these guys are good. So, again, all due respect to Missouri State, but what was that like last night, moving the basketball when you're not facing a Baylor or a Kansas or a Texas Tech or a Texas or a K-State or on and on and on, right?
Yeah, well, I think Jake hit on it earlier when he said he was talking about, how it's just a lot different playing against a team that's not like, one of the best defenses in the country. And so that was just a lot different. I think that, it kind of helped us out a little bit. Just, our offense was feeling a lot more smooth. It was a lot more free flowing. And, like you said, no disrespect to Missouri State, but just, the scoring just felt a lot easier than it's felt in the previous month or two. And so that was kind of nice for us. I think that, we're the only Big 12 team in this tournament, I think. And so, you never know what could happen. We could be, scoring 80 a game, which you guys haven't seen all season. Most of our games have been in the 60s. And so, it could be fun that, we aren't playing against these Big 12 teams. We're obviously going to be playing against some incredible talent. I think if the wins happen for both teams, we could end up facing Virginia, who's known as having a good defensive team. And, that game could easily end up in the 30s for all I know. But no, I think, it was definitely fun. And Missouri State even zoned us, which we've had trouble with in the past. Obviously Butler zoned us in that home game earlier in the season, and I think we went scoreless for like 8 minutes or so, and so it was kind of good to feel that zone out again, get a crack at the zone again, and be able to use our offenses that we've learned through the course of the season, just to like see how much better we've gotten throughout the year, and so that was just kind of fun too.
Yeah, I think for me it was like it almost felt like in the first half we were just kind of trading buckets with them. It was, they had a really good player in Mosley, who was obviously, like Tanner said, a pro prospect, and he was giving buckets to us and hitting some really tough shots. And so we knew that he was going to come in and try and do that. And so we were going to live with the tough shots he was making. But I think he had 22 at halftime. And so he was really making some shots, kind of keeping him in it. But it just felt like we were kind of trading buckets with them. They couldn't get a stop on us, and we couldn't really get a stop on them. And so, the second half, obviously, we came out and finally, figured out a way to kind of guard him or deny the ball and kind of guard the rest of their guys as well. And so that's kind of where you saw us pull away a little bit and get up, 15, even close to 20, at one point. And so that was cool to see. Just making those kind of halftime adjustments, especially against a good Missouri State team, like you said, who was a top. I think they were top 3 or top 4 in the Valley, which is obviously a good mid-major conference where they, yeah. So that's a good team who's beaten some really good teams on the year as well, and so it was good for us to kind of see, see someone new besides a Big 12 opponent, kind of get our offense rolling against a team that doesn't quite defend as well, and then kind of taking the challenge on to guard some of their guys because they have some really good talents as well, and so that was cool to see on our part.
Well, hey, and the underrated part about the last 3 games too is post game has been normal. We actually got to hang out and see you guys. Tanner, sorry I missed you, but Jake and I had that moment in Kansas City after the Baylor game where I almost forgot my question. So I was like, wait, hold on. We talk to you guys every week. Now you're up there. Well, what's going on?
Oh yeah, the post game is a different animal nowadays. I mean, it was pretty crazy walking into that room in Kansas City with 50 reporters sitting in front of you. It was like, oh gosh, you know what I mean? It's a little bit nerve wracking. I'm used to sitting in front of a computer and seeing everyone's face on Zoom, and so it's pretty low risk. I'm just kind of chilling and giving answers out, but all of a sudden there's a bunch of faces in front of you and they're asking you questions on the spot, and it's like, oh boy, here we go. And so it was good though. I mean, it was good to see everyone in person. That was actually the first time I've ever been a part of like an interview like that where everybody's in person. Even at Eastern too, we kind of had a very low scale version of that where it was 2 or 3 reporters asking questions, and so to see that after the game was pretty cool.
Well, yeah, you guys got robbed of being the tournament darlings as well, where that usually last year for you guys would have been a huge post game, but that didn't happen. What I was going to ask though is, Jake, you touched on this earlier, but West Coast guys, right, coming from Washington. What does it mean though for you guys to have a chance to finish this year at Madison Square Garden? Like, I don't want to get too ahead of you guys, but I mean, Porter talks about it. It's the Mecca. Have you guys talked to Jordan Goldwire at all? I know that Duke fancies the Garden as kind of Cameron Indoor North, so he has some experience there as well. But how big of a motivating factor is that you could go play a couple of games in the Garden?
I think that's, a big part of it. That's honestly the first thing that Coach touched on when obviously these NIT talks started. He said that the semifinals and the final game is in the Mecca of basketball arenas in the world, and so it's like he said, you go talk to Jordan, to Kobe, to LeBron, and they'll say that their favorite spot to play is Madison Square Garden. And so it's one of those things that's hopefully a really cool opportunity for us if we can tough out a couple more home wins and get the opportunity to play there. But obviously disappointed we didn't make the NCAA tournament, but I think that all the guys are on board now that cutting down nets in Madison Square Garden and ending this season on a win would be pretty unbelievable. And so, I honestly, I've never been to New York. I've always wanted to go. And so I'm hoping we can make that happen just for, a little bit of travel sake and go experience a new city. And I've heard there's some pretty awesome things there. And so I'm excited to hopefully get the opportunity to go there and play some hoops in the Big Apple.
Yep. I've only been to New York one time, and it was in 2018 when the Eastern Eagles played Syracuse, and we scored 12 points at halftime. And so that was my only experience playing in New York. So I'd like a little redemption too. Nothing better than going to the Madison Square Garden, like you guys said, the Mecca of basketball, and being able to cut down the nets in there against a good team. And so I think that's going to be cool if we can make that happen. Like Jake said, just got to tough out a couple more home wins. But no, I mean, regardless of, being snubbed or whatever, this and that, I think that, Madison Square Garden is still, a cool way to end the season, especially, with the chance to go out on a win too. And so I think the guys are kind of looking forward to that. I think this last win helped motivate our guys a little bit and say, hey, let's do this thing. We only got a few more. We got, maybe 2 more weeks left of basketball. Why not do it? So it's really cool. Just the end goal of cutting down the nets, winning the championship in the Garden is a pretty cool motivator. And so I think that we're locked in, we're ready to go.
I'm curious just because, we've talked to you guys before. You guys are both really big just fans of college basketball. Obviously, just because you play a sport doesn't always mean you're like a fan of it. You guys are. You guys watch a lot of games outside of just, getting ready for your next opponent or whatever. With the way that the season ended, and you guys were so close to the tournament, and metrically, your resume stacks up. Probably should have been in the tournament. Your KenPom is like the highest for a non-tournament team in a while. How much March Madness are you guys going to watch the next, few days? Is it like too painful? Will you still watch games? How is that going to go?
I'll tell you that. Oh,
yeah, it's funny because we're definitely going to be watching some hoops the next couple of weeks. That's one of the things. It's hard not to watch. I mean, it's the best time of the year. We just love college basketball. As far as filling out a bracket, definitely won't get to that this year, but we'll definitely be watching college hoops all March, and definitely come the 1st of April or whenever the national championship is on that Monday. And so yeah, we're definitely going to be watching quite a bit of hoops, and obviously we got some teams we think are going to make it pretty far, and some upsets that we've kind of been scheming. And so we talk a lot of hoops with our team and our guys, and so we love that stuff, but yeah, probably not filling out a bracket this year.
Yeah, you guys are talking to a guy that's got his phone taken in class from him probably 100 times in high school during March Madness, watching games in the middle of class. And so I can tell you that there's a 200% chance I'll be watching these games. For any college sports fan, college basketball fan, I think it's the best time of the year. Even sports in general, it might be the best time of the year. Like, I'm a little biased because I like basketball. Basketball is my favorite sport, and I think that March Madness is better than the Super Bowl. I love basketball, and so March Madness is easily my favorite time of the year. I just remember being a little kid, watching my teams play, and waking up early on even for the Saturday games,
it starts early out there.
Off,
yeah.
And, being a kid and not having to go to school, just watching games all day with my parents, and oh man, it was just brings back great memories. And so yeah, March Madness is just an incredible time of the year. I love it, and yes, I'm excited to regardless of being in it or not in it. Even last year when we were at Eastern, after we lost, we were the next day we were sitting in our apartment watching all these games. And so we're looking forward to watching some more hoops.
I was going to ask real quick,
Tanner, give me your phone. I can see it right now, man. I can see it right now. Come on, Teach. Leave me alone.
Luckily, I'm in all online classes, so I don't have to worry about being in class.
Boom.
Heck yeah.
Real quick, last year, statute of limitations is up. You mentioned filling out brackets. How far do you guys have Eastern going in your bracket? How does that work when you're kind of one of the ultimate Cinderellas?
Oh gosh.
Oh man, we had us winning at least one.
Yeah, it's funny because you have all of our family that fills out brackets too. Is like, I'm banking on you guys to get a win. So it's like,
that's great.
Okay, well,
yeah, we had so many people just like, man, I had you guys winning it, winning at least one game, like getting the upset. So that's funny. Even I'm actually kind of good buddies with one of the guys on Barstool, the Rico Bosco. I'm kind of good buddies with him from Barstool Sports, and he has a hilarious video of him and Dave Portnoy and like a big group of Barstool guys watching the Eastern versus Kansas game, and I think we were up by 11 or so, or we were down by 11 or so at the very end of the game, and I can't remember. I think the under whatever
like
spot. I think the line was like
9.5.
maybe 10.5 or 9.5 or something, and so we were down by 11, and our guy goes in to score with like 10 seconds left and scores it, and all those guys in the room just start freaking out, getting excited and stuff because we made them a bunch of money. So I'll always remember seeing that video after the game. That was hilarious.
Good teams win, great teams cover. So there you go.
That's right.
That's awesome. What a great memory. Now, how far do you think Bill Self had Kansas going in that bracket is my question. I mean, seriously, come on.
from
I think
last
they
year's team.
definitely look past
Yeah,
that.
from last year. Yeah, exactly. After
Yeah.
playing you guys, especially, he's probably tearing up his bracket.
It was so funny because he even mentioned this in some of the interviews like leading up to the game, is that he said that we're not as much worried about Eastern Washington. We're not really looking at them. We're kind of focusing on ourselves, figuring some things out. And so we were like, if they're not going to scout us, then we may as well give them a run for their money. And so,
Yep.
Yeah,
that's what we did.
absolutely.
That's cool. Great memories. Listen, Tanner, Jacob, the postseason, man, it's underway, and it's we're here. We're covering every game. You know what? We can't wait to follow you guys. I'll tell you this: Ryan and I are looking forward to a trip to New York City. It's my favorite place on the planet. I think it's Ryan's favorite place on the planet, so we're probably going to double team that. So no pressure, fellas, no pressure. But seriously, it's going to be a lot of fun to watch you guys over these next few weeks as the season concludes.
Yep, no doubt.
Awesome.
We're excited.
Hopefully we'll see you guys in New York.
Well, hopefully we'll see you in Norman. That's the first
Right.
goal. Is I
This
want to be
Sunday,
back in
yeah.
Norman.
We'll
You guys
see you
can
on
both come into the
Sunday.
post game.
That's right.
Y'all might not believe this, but we have never met face to face. None of the Groves Bros. Those guys met those guys in Kansas City, I guess. But in terms of just shaking hands and saying what's up, we still have yet to do that. Everything's been virtual, so looking forward to the real thing soon.
Oh yeah,
No
absolutely.
doubt.
Hey, thanks again to Trade Pros for sponsoring the Groves Bros on the SI Sooners podcast. Give those guys a call, 405-639-9991 for all your heating and air needs, or just go to tradeprosokc.com and be back here next Wednesday as Tanner and Jacob join us for another exclusive segment of the Groves Bros. As always, you can listen to that one and all episodes of the SI Sooners podcast on iTunes, Spotify, Google, iHeart, or wherever you get your podcasts. Or if you've got an Amazon-enabled device, just say, Alexa, please play the SI Sooners podcast. She'll hook you up. Go to our website, allsooners.com, click on the player right there on the homepage, and listen on your phone, your tablet, or computer. We do simulcast the video version over on my YouTube channel, so check that out, John Hoover Media. And as always, please comment, like, rate, share, and subscribe. It helps us out a lot. So for Josh Callaway, Ryan Chapman, and of course the Groves Bros, Tanner and Jacob, I am John Hoover. See you guys.